Hi everyone, my name is Vaishnavi, and I'm so excited to be presenting as part of the 40 Acre Founders Spring 2020 cohort. So the name of my startup and my vision is boxEDu. And boxEDU is a company that aims to provide cost-effective and efficient subscription-based test prep for low-income high schoolers. So it's supposed to be customized and personalized for a specific student, which means it's customized to their specific test date and their specific skill set. But before I go into my company, I kind of want to give you a little bit of a background about myself. So I'm actually born and brought up in Austin. And this picture right here is actually the high school I went to, John B. Connolly High School. And it's one of many Title I schools in the Austin area. And if you don't know what a Title I school is, it's a school with a large concentration of low-income students that come from various backgrounds, but need supplemental funds to assist in their education. So when I was a junior, which is around the time you take the SAT and the ACT, I was fortunate enough that my parents were able to afford to send me to prep courses. But I noticed that none of my peers talked about how they were prepping for the exams. So one day I went around and I was asking my friends, how are you prepping? How are you studying? Most of them would look at me and they'd say, my parents can't afford to pay for a course like this. My parents can't afford to pay for extra prep. And that's something that was so unfair to me because the SAT is a test that it's not optional. You need to take it to get into a four-year school. And why isn't the prep affordable to all students? So they always have this mindset of just kind of winging the test or studying the night before and then taking the test. And that's something I thought that needed to be changed. So with this passion for education, I actually went into university and I actually became a Princeton Review instructor. So I've actually been teaching at the Princeton Review for about 2 years now. And I would go around and I would talk to my students and I'd ask them, how are your friends prepping for the SAT? How are your peers prepping for the SAT? And a lot of them would say, my peers can't afford to buy a test prep course. It's just too expensive. They can't even afford to get individual tutoring or get extra help. So they just feel like they're lost and they just kind of give up and accept their score. And I was honestly so shocked because this is not an answer I heard just once. It's an answer that I heard multiple times. And I was shocked and I was kind of angry because to have a test like the SAT and not have prep affordable to every single student is something that needs to be changed. It was at that point that I realized that accessibility goes hand in hand with affordability and something needs to be done about it. And with that came my idea and my vision for my startup, boxEDu. So I want to go into the problem just a little bit more. Connolly is one of 46,969 Title I schools in the United States. Majority of these students have jobs to keep their lights on at home and food on the table. They don't have that much money to spend on their education. And test prep per student costs approximately $1,000 to $2,000 on the lower end of things. It's simply not affordable for a Title I student. Research has also shown that Title I students have a 12% college matriculation rate. I want to say that number again, 12%. That's extremely under average and something that does need to be addressed. So taking a look at my market, we talked about how there's 46,969 Title I schools in the nation. Out of that, there's about 23 million Title I high schoolers in the US. There's about 2 million Title I high schoolers in Texas, and there's around 12,000 Title I high schoolers in and around Austin. As you can tell, there are many students that are facing a similar problem. So we do have a couple of test prep solutions available today, and you've probably heard of them as well. So we have Khan Academy, the very famous self-learning service that's actually powered by the College Board. So if there's one thing you've noticed about Khan Academy is they have a lot of content. Anytime you go on the website, you're always doing content after content after content. Well, it's actually proven that to get a good score on the SAT, you have to focus on strategy over content. And so Khan Academy has very few varieties in exams and problem sets, fewer customizations, and it's just not efficient or effective at all. There's also self-prep books, which might seem like the easier route, but it's actually just a limited number of problems and it's not customizable to the student. Also, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but if you've ever opened a test prep book, it's a huge chunky book full of unnecessary information and just completely overwhelming for a student. So I actually want to go into my solution to this problem, boxEDU. So the first thing you would do is sign up online for a subscription box-based SAT or ACT prep model. You'll get delivered effective prep for a cheap and standard price every month. You can customize to your test date and take a diagnostic quiz, which will allow us to cater the prep to what you know and your skill set. It's also paper-based, and the reason I did that is because I want to mock the real SAT that's administered in testing rooms and at schools. You can also choose to get it delivered weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly, and I'll actually go into a delivery plan in the next couple slides. And the third step is that the prep is delivered right to your front door. The reason I made it like this is because, again, most Title I students are working on jobs, and most of them don't have the time to go to a class. So by having it easily accessible and delivered to your front door, there's no fear of missing a class and they get all the prep and content they need. So I want to go into my 6-month delivery model. So this is one of the plans I have in mind. And this charges $15 a month, which is an extremely affordable price. And this is for a student with a projected SAT test date in November 2020. So as you can see, from May to October, they will get prep delivered in week 1 and week 3. And the point of this is so that they have 2 weeks to really absorb and then have really good memory retention with the information before they move on to the next content. And this is actually the pricing breakdown. So the way I've designed my box is there's a box and there's 2 20-page booklets full of content in each box. So for 6 months, the total cost from boxEDU would come out to around $60, with shipping around like $62, $63. And the total cost from the customer, with it being $15 a month, would be about $90. So that's a 33% profit margin while still making prep more affordable. And I also just want to go into the major competition in Texas. You guys have probably heard of these big names, Princeton Review, Kaplan, and if you look at the pricing on their courses, it ranges from $600 a course to around $750 a course. And this is before tax or any extra prep or tutoring or books. As you can tell, these prices are completely unaffordable to Title I students. And it's clear that these prices also favor people with financial stability, which is why we see that common correlation between higher SAT scores and people with higher family incomes. And to kind of prove my point, I also wanted to do a pricing comparison on a month-to-month basis with other courses. So boxEDU is $15 a month, and it's actually 96% cheaper than any other test prep course. So this again proves my point that prep can be made affordable and cheaper and be accessible to all students.
2 minutes remaining.
So I want to just go into my customer interviews, which is I interviewed 20 parents, and these were the statistics I got from them. And 87.5% said the product was different, 75% said they were more likely to buy it, and 75% said that this product would be better than what they were currently using. And last year, around 2 million students took the SAT. And the SAT is a mandatory exam, so I expect that we will always have a customer base and have new customers on a day-to-day basis. So my next step for boxEDU is I'm working on building an MVP. I do want to do more customer interviews, and I want to try to establish a point guarantee by having a trial. And I want to do more outreach to Title I schools. So the ultimate goal is to get more Title I schools into college. I believe that affordability goes hand in hand with accessibility. And I hope you guys believe that too, and my vision for boxEDU. Thank you so much for listening, and I'm open to questions.